from the house of Sheikh Mujibur Rehman, the founder of Bangladesh, whose house was later turned into a museum, symbolizing the country's independence from Pakistan. Hello there, you are watching Inside South Asia with me, Dasuni Athauda. Hundreds of protesters stormed into Sheikh Hasina's paternal house, a once treasured property, and set parts of it on fire. The Students Against Discrimination movement declared a bulldozer march towards the museum after former PM Hasina said she would address the students of the country via social media on Wednesday evening.
Why doesn't she leave us in peace? You and your people looted and emptied the entire country. Now live in luxury as per your wish. Why are you trying to incite Bangladeshi people again?
Even as Hasina began speaking, hundreds of protesters entered the premises and further vandalized the museum that was damaged during the student-led revolution last year. The protesters brought excavator diggers in an attempt to flatten the building, while several others gathered outside with hammers to smash down its walls. The crowds cheered as fires torched the building. Hasina said in her speech that bulldozers may destroy a building, but not the history.
সংবিধানকে ধ্বংস করা, জাতীয় পতাকা ধ্বংস করা, অনেক চেষ্টাই করা হয়েছে, কিন্তু লাখো শহীদের রক্তের বিনিময়ে যে পতাকা পেয়েছি, যে সংবিধান পেয়েছি, যে স্বাধীনতা পেয়েছি, তা ওই কয়েকজন বুলডোজার দিয়ে ভেঙে গুড়িয়ে দেবে এ শক্তি তাদের হয়নি এখনো। এটা তাদের দুর্বলতার প্রকাশ। তারা একটা দালান ভাঙতে পারে, কিন্তু ইতিহাসকে তারা ধ্বংস করতে পারে না।
Many see this attack as a turning point of sorts of Bangladesh gravitating towards reuniting with Pakistan. It's been a year since Pakistan's general election. Though political stability remains a far cry, former Prime Minister Imran Khan has written to the country's army chief while in jail, citing a few issues that include election fraud as well as the state of the judiciary. Khan falls back on the military to assist and intervene in this dire situation.
Not the judiciary or legislature. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan, who's been in jail since August 2023, facing multiple legal battles, calls on the army chief for help. Amid big protest plans by his party 1 year after elections and his own complaints of injustices inflicted by the Shehbaz Sharif government, he highlights what he calls a growing gap between the army and the people. Imran's letter raises alleged rigging and so-called stealing of the elections a year back. He talks of the crackdown on PTI workers and supporters by the Sharif government and state institutions working against his party and its leadership. Imran cites the 26th constitutional amendment used to control the judiciary, the state of the economy, and muzzling of freedom of speech through restrictions on social media and the internet via the Pakistan Electronic Crimes Act. As expected, the Pakistan government rejected Khan's charges. The army itself said a day later that it had never received such a letter. What stands out, however, is both Prime Minister Sharif and Imran Khan turning to the army for resolution of issues and underscoring that it is Rawalpindi that calls the shots in Pakistan.
As far as Pakistan is concerned, army is the ultimate arbiter of its destination. And that fact is realized by virtually one and all. It may not be de jure in command, but de facto it is in command. So as far as Imran Khan is concerned, it knows that it is the establishment which is actually going after PTI, whereas judiciary and other organs are trying to give it some sort of a relief. In fact, the manner in which PTI activists, even civilian activists, have been tried in the army courts actually raises serious questions about the constitutional validity of these trials.
Amid this political tug-of-war, Pakistan's judiciary remains in a state of disarray. Lawyers in Islamabad staged protests this week over transfer of 3 judges from the Lahore High Court to Islamabad High Court. Lawyers in Lahore also plan a protest march on the 10th. The legal fraternity says the transfers undermine independence of the judiciary. There's anger against the government for turning the judiciary into its puppet with the 26th Constitution Amendment, and that's just another aspect of a system in disarray.
Its salvation only lies in having good economic and political relations with India, because that would negate the eminence of army in the body politic of Pakistan. That will actually take it away from the permanent begging bowl that it has. But that doesn't seem likely at this point of time. So I have no doubts whether Imran Khan comes or Shahbaz Sharif continues, or for that matter even Bilawal Bhutto comes, that the fundamental problems with Pakistan will get resolved, because certain problems emanate from the manner in which Pakistan was created and the basic ideology that governs it, that is the two-nation theory. So to my mind, these are fundamental problems which cannot be resolved by any government, whichever government comes to power.
Terrorist activity at new highs in Balochistan and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa as political warring turns more and more bitter in Islamabad and Lahore amid punches and counter-punches for control of the judiciary. Democratic functioning remains a casualty, with the army calling the shots. And the economy remains unable to pull itself out of dire straits. The Pakistan story finds itself in hot water all around.
There's an ongoing rumble in the Taliban-ruled Afghanistan regarding the education of girls and women in the country. 2 ministers speaking up against the regressive directive in the span of 2 weeks has underscored the internal debates regarding this in the country. Here's a report.
A minister of the infamously hard-hearted Taliban breaks down in public, not something you see often. Days after Deputy Foreign Minister Stanigzai, Deputy Interior Minister Nabi Omari speaks out. It's another voice for muzzled women's rights from within the Taliban government, the second in as many weeks. All I know is that if girls' education is not a religious obligation or tradition, it is at least permissible, Omari said at a graduation ceremony. Our generations will be lost. And may God guide us. Religious studies are allowed, so modern sciences should also be permitted. The Taliban's ban on education for girls is among the most regressive restrictions imposed since its return to power in 2021. 4 years on, girls' high schools remain shut. Women are officially banned from attending universities. Improper dress and mixing of genders are cited reasons. There's been a blowback brewing too. Many so-called underground schools have emerged alongside a crackdown on violators. Women running or attending these schools face severe punishments. And the dire impact itself tells a story. Over 1.1 million girls have been deprived of education. Many female teachers and professors have lost their jobs. The restrictions have further marginalized Afghan women, cutting career ambitions to zero, increasing economic hardships. The state of affairs in Afghanistan gets greater prominence with this contrast. A team of women cricketers from Afghanistan played their first game in years last week. This is a group of girls that got away from the Taliban. They've made Australia their home now. And they reflect the sea of potential back home that remains unrealized.
As for these girls, Afghan girls, it's a very big dream. And I'm sure it's a big message for the world, that the world do something for Afghan women. Especially for the opening the school door, opening the works for women. It's a very special, it's a good message.
Taliban ministers Omari and Stanikzai stand out in being the voice of hope for the girls and women of Afghanistan. It's a small step that backs the belief that a society eventually corrects its own ills. And it holds up hope that Afghanistan is moving in that direction too.
The Nepal government has prohibited solo expeditions to Mount Everest. Sri Lanka celebrated its 77th Independence Day. Take a look at all of these stories that have made headlines across the region this week.
Pakistan is set to resume flight operations to Bangladesh after a decade. A private airline, Fly Jinnah, has been approved by Bangladesh's aviation authorities. The low-cost carrier will operate between the cities of Karachi and Dhaka. The Civil Aviation Authority of Bangladesh said that Fly Jinnah has to appoint a local general sales agent in the country, while slots and frequencies will be provided to the airline upon request. Fly Jinnah is a joint venture between Pakistan's Laksan Group and UAE-based Air Arabia. Pakistan's PIA last operated direct flights to Bangladesh back in February 2015. The latest news comes more than 2 months after a cargo ship from Karachi docked at the Chittagong port, marking the first ever direct maritime link between both the countries since the 1971 Liberation War.
The Nepal government has ended solo expeditions on Mount Everest and other mountain peaks higher than 8,000 meters. According to the 6th Amendment to the Mountaineering Regulation, which came into force on Tuesday, a high-altitude support staff or mountain guide is mandatory for every 2 climbers for peaks above 8,000 meters, including the 8,849 meters tall Mount Everest. For other peaks, at least 1 guide is required per group. The government said that the amendment was made to ensure the climbers' safety on the mountain.
Sri Lanka celebrated 77 years of independence. On the 4th of February, the ceremony featured parades of soldiers, naval officers, and Air Force personnel. Sri Lanka's President, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, marked the anniversary of independence from Britain in 1948 with a pledge to change the impoverished island nation's image as a corrupt country. His government scaled down this year's military march, keeping with his pledge to para lavish spending on government officialdom.
India has set a conservation benchmark in the global platform. The country's tiger population has doubled over the span of a decade. This goes to show that large predators can thrive alongside human communities. Take a look at this success story.
Of all the big cats, tigers are the closest to extinction. Around a century ago, 100,000 wild tigers roamed freely across Asia. Now, only around 4% are left. India, which is home to roughly 70% of the global tiger population, has a reason to roar. The world's largest wild tiger population has surged from 1,706 in 2010 to an impressive 3,682 in 2022. The resurgence of Indian tigers represents a triumph for conservationists, a ray of hope for other countries struggling to boost wildlife numbers. According to a study published in the journal Science, India's success offers important lessons for tiger range countries that conservation efforts can benefit both biodiversity and nearby communities. India's Project Tiger was launched in 1973 when tiger numbers had plummeted below 2,000. It stands as the world's most successful and the longest running conservation programs. The initiative's holistic approach has created a delicate balance between wildlife protection and community development. particularly through ecotourism revenues that benefit local populations. India's success stems from a comprehensive approach combining strict anti-poaching measures, habitat protection, and innovative community engagement strategies. The magnificent predators now roam across 138,200 square kilometers of diverse terrain. These majestic big cats, capable of reaching speeds up to 65 kilometers per hour and weighing up to 300 kilograms, now share their habitat with approximately 60 million people across India. Despite the challenges this presents, successful coexistence has been achieved in several states, including Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Uttarakhand, and Karnataka, where tigers thrive at high densities alongside human settlements. Even the transboundary tiger conservation program between India and Bangladesh has been fruitful over the past few years. The Royal Bengal tiger is the best known land-based predator in the Sundarbans, found in these two countries. This cross-border initiative, focused on harmonious coexistence with tigers in the Sundarbans, has been underway since 2018. The tiger resurgence in India has given hope to environmentalists involved in other conservation programs too. Project Cheetah, an initiative by the Government of India, has reintroduced cheetahs into the wild after they were declared extinct in the country in 1952. It involves importing cheetahs from Africa and establishing them in suitable habitats within India, particularly in national parks and wildlife reserves. India's conservation model's success hinges on a dual strategy of land sparing and sharing, proving that both approaches are essential for the big cat's recovery. While 25% of tiger habitat remains prey-rich and protected, the remaining areas demonstrate how humans and wildlife can coexist through careful management and sustainable practices. Adding to the human-wildlife conflict, there are also threats of habitat loss and climate change. Though tiger conservation in India is being hailed as a success story, these critical challenges remain for the future of such efforts.
More than 80 olive ridley turtles were washed ashore in Cox's Bazar alongside southeastern Bangladesh, a popular tourist attraction. Why are these turtles dying and being washed ashore? Take a look at this report.
An abundant species found in tropical waters. The world over is increasingly endangered. Olive ridley sea turtles, relatively small in size, can live up to 50 years in the wild. Alarmingly, their numbers are on a decline, and periodically they have been victim of mass die-off events, such as one witnessed last month in the nearby southern Indian state of Odisha. Olive ridley sea turtles throng the coasts of Odisha for the purpose of nesting in large numbers. Thousands kilometers away from the Indian coast, let's take you to Bangladesh, where more than 80 turtles were found washed up on the Cox's Bazar beach. More than 80% of the turtles discovered washed up on the Cox's Bazar coast were females who had ostensibly come ashore to lay eggs.
All of them are olive ridley turtles. Previously, we used to find bodies of turtles wrapped with fishing nets, but this time, we don't see any fishing nets. But some turtles had injuries on their bodies. We determined their sex too, and we found that 10-15 turtles were males and the rest of the 70 were female. It means they came along the shore to lay eggs as it's their breeding season.
In order to breathe, turtles float on the water, but once they get entangled in fishing nets, they are forced to remain underwater for too long and end up suffocating to death.
When the turtles come to the shore to lay eggs, they get trapped in fishing nets. The fishermen then either break their legs to free them from the nets or they pound them with sharp objects. I saw that all the turtles had eggs. A turtle usually has 100-150 eggs. Usually I find living turtles every year, but this year I see only dead turtles.
Plastic waste washed ashore is another factor leading to the deaths of the turtles on one of the world's longest beaches in Bangladesh. Experts are of the opinion that a disruption in the turtle population risks severe damage to local marine ecology. Turtles eat jellyfish, which helps in the survival of fish larvae. Hence, in order to sustain the fish stocks, the survival of sea turtles is absolutely crucial. Though Bangladeshi scientists are yet to determine the cause of the deaths, it is suspected that overfishing and the use of sea-sweeping trawler nets could have played a hand in these unfortunate deaths. For now, the probe into the deaths of these turtles is on.
And that's all we have for you on our show this week. Before we leave, take a look at the Mahakumbh that is currently taking place in Prayagraj. The Bhutan king also visited and took a holy dip. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi also visited Prayagraj. Take a look at this highlight reel for the WION team. I'm Dasuni Athauda, and I will join you next week.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION, World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at yowon.com.
This week on the West Asia Post.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too.
U.S. President Donald Trump says Washington will take over